All right, so we here for another reading. We reading our comrade Johnny Torres' book. You know, he got 3 books. I think he got 3 books, and he got another one about to come out soon and stuff. So we proud of our Brown Beret comrade Johnny Torres. We reading his book, Voices of the Revolution, which is dealing with a lot of the bios and artwork, poetry and stuff from the comrades within our movement today. Like every generation is gonna have to speak to their generation, and he's one of the ones in our generation, revolutionaries that speaking to our generation. So we're gonna jump right into his book right here. Um, Pleasure for all the comrades coming on today. We got a couple of guests on here. Well, you know, Che, he like on here all the time, so we always get a pleasure of having that elder on. But we also got our elder Cleo Silver's on with us today, so I'm pretty sure we'll have a lot of rich discussion after we get done reading this with her as well. Uh, Anyone want to start off? Or I can start it off. I'm going to start it off. All right, so Bio Matt Cedillo. All right. Matt Cedillo has been described as the best political poet in America, as well as the poet laureate of the struggle by academics, poets, and journalists alike. He has appeared on C-SPAN and has been featured in the Los Angeles Times, among other publications. He has spoken at Casa de las Americas in Havana, Cuba, at numerous conferences and forums such as the National Conference on Race and Ethnicity in American Higher Education, and at over 100 universities and colleges, including the University of Cambridge, among many others. He is the current writer in residence at RE/Arte in Boyle Heights, and author of Mowing Leaves of Grass and the upcoming City on the Second Floor. And this is the comrade right here. All right, so this poem is called Pilgrimage. Pilgrim. See, some were born to summer homes and how y'all say that word?
Palatial.
Palatial and palatial groves, where pain was only to ever unfold from the pages of secret gardens where the red fern grows. But not I. I see come from the stock of starry-eyed astronauts who greet the night sky with big dreams and wide eyes, always running down the devil's highway through the occupied America on the way to the house on Mango Street. And all those other books you didn't want us to read, raised on the handball off the back wall of a Pandaria, born east of the river, post Mendez versus Westminster, one generation removed from the red lines and diploma sign that those dreams in that skin need not apply. See, I come from the struggle, and if my story offends you, that is only because you made the mistake of seeking your reflection in my self-portrait. See, this may not be about you, because while some were born to the common core, whose reflective faces grace the pages of doctrines to discover and ages to be explored, where old world hardships crashed against new shores, New England, New Hampshire, New Jersey, New York, for others pushed off Turtle Island as land. Do not call this brown-skinned immigrant child of the sun, son of the conquest, Mexicano blood running through the veins of the east side of Los Angeles. Do not tell him in what native tongue his song would best be sung. Do not tell him who I am, because I was raised just like you, miseducated in some of those very same schools of lessons and legends of honest engines and Christian pilgrims and a nation of immigrants, all united in freedom. That is until they pulled aside. My white friend pointed directly at me and said, Scott, I judge you by the company you keep and spend your time with this. And that's the same old story since 1846. The adventures of Uncle Sam, the stick up man. Hey, wetback, show me your papers. Now give me your labor. The melting pot was never meant for the hands that cleaned it. The American dream has always come at the expense of those who tucked in it. And you don't know that because you don't teach it. Could write you a book, but you won't read it. But you won't read it. So you know what this is about you in 1492 and the Treaty of Guadalupe, California missions, and Arizona schools, and these racists that try to erase us as we raise their kids in cities that bear our names. But you're going to learn someday today, because from Ferdinand to Minuteman, from Arapayo to Alamo, from Pol Pot Vu to Yo Soy Yo King to the Indian that still lives in me from Mexico 68 to the missing 43. They tried to bury us. They didn't know we were seeds from the Canania mine to the Delano strike, from the plain de Ayala, Emilio Zapata, Joaquin Morerita, Las Adelitas, Bambra Reyes, and Zapatistas, from Richard Nixon to the third Napoleon, from Pecanapa to Houston, from Lone Star Republic to Christopher Columbus, all the way down to Donald fucking Trump. We did cross the borders crossed us. Who you calling Pilgrim? That's what's up. I like that.
I like that he called that out so fucking directly. Like, who are you calling?
That is how you end a poem. Okay.
Can you scroll for me a little bit?
Yep. I see Comrade Joe's got his hand up.
Okay.
Yeah, I just wanted to touch bases on Matt Cedillo. I mean, he's a powerful poet, and he's just in tours in Italy and Mexico, all across the world, pretty much. Those were his most recent ones. But he's out of Los Angeles. I got to meet him a few times, and he's a strong, solid brother, man.
Okay.
And when he reads, he kind of like is at the top of his voice when he's reading.
Right.
Very, very powerful. But I was just great to. It was nice to see his story up in here. That's all.
Yeah. But he does a lot of work with the Brown Berets as well. Or
yes, he does work with the Brown Berets, and he does work with the La Raza Unida Party.
Okay.
And then in Los Angeles, they have a radio station Wednesday mornings between 8 to 9 a.m. And that's on 90.7 KPFK. And if you have TuneIn Radio app on your phone, you can always tune in. That's how I tune in across the country, is on TuneIn Radio, and from 8 to 9 Wednesday mornings.
Okay.
Pacific Standard Time. That's right.
Okay. Well, I thank you for filling us in on that, because I think reading these type of works, we learn about different iconic individuals within different communities and stuff that's inspiring. Like I told Johnny Torres, I remember when I read his book of poems called Resurrecting El Barrio. And I was like, man, Johnny Torres, you like the Langston Hughes for the brown community. Like, it was very inspiring. The autobiography of poetry that showed like why he had transformed into a revolutionary. I learned a whole lot about his own family and stuff through a lot of his poetry and stuff. I'm pretty sure we'll eventually get around to reading his book of poems and stuff too. But poems to me is one of them cultural expressions that hit poignant feelings and pull at our heartstrings about different things that impact us historically, emotionally, psychologically, socially. Talks about that colonial, what I call post-traumatic colonial disorder. You know what I'm saying? That we all deal with under this capitalist imperialist system and this neo form of colonialism that we all deal with. You know what I mean? And some of these poems capture a lot of that stuff. So I'm glad we started off with that poem. Shanti, you had something to say?
Yeah, I'm glad that he mentioned about the house on Mango Street, because I actually read The House on Mango Street back in 6th grade. It's been a long time since I've read that book. And it's actually based on Chicano life here in Chicago. I don't know much about the story since it's been so long, but I do know that the author was raised, I believe the author was raised here, I believe either in Little Village or in Pilsen. And, just the story um, alone from the tidbits that I do remember from reading it, it was kind of like those seeds that were really just uh, bursting free to me about brown life, especially in Chicago, and the way that the author wrote the story. Because one thing about Chicago is that poetry is second nature to us. Like, all the new Africans, all the Chicanos here, all the Boricuas here, poetry is second nature to us. And the stories, whether fiction or nonfiction, is still rings true to us. And that's what we need. We need these stories, whether they're real or not, that uplifts not only our ancestors but our identity. And The House on Mango Street is definitely one of those books. And I definitely got to read it again because it's been so long. And from the tidbits I do remember from reading the story, I really enjoyed it. So I'm glad that he mentioned about it.
Oh, no doubt. Joe, do you still got your hand up, or that's from last
Yeah,
time?
yeah. I raised it back up real quick.
Okay.
He could be found on Facebook also, Matt Sedil.
Okay.
And whatchamacallit, he just like updated his profile picture to some award or some title. I mean, I'm telling you, he's really popular, and man, like in Italy, they love him. I mean, so it's so awesome how a Chicano from East LA can inspire across the world through poetry. It's awesome, and that's all I wanted to say.
Okay. I'm gonna jump back into the next one. This is a bio original story, Lobo. All right. It says, I am a 42-year-old Puerto Rican from the Bronx, New York. I attended school exclusively in the Bronx, where every day I was forced to fight to survive. I worked in law enforcement, where I've seen what is done to minorities. It's disgusting. I decided to abandon that career and become an educator for children with autism. It is rewarding to know that I'm making an impact in someone else's life. My parents are both Puerto Rican, and my father's side, however, is French ancestry. Could you scroll up a little bit, Cameron? I've seen many other ethnic groups join organizations like the Brown Berets and Black Panthers. I remember my grandmother on my dad's side mentioning the Young Lords and how they helped her out in New York. I researched them and realized they were no longer active. In time, I came across Subi Turo, who had created the New Era Young Lords. I told him that I wished to help my community and join him in defense of our people. Subi interviewed and accepted me. The rest is history. I was named Kakike chief of the Connecticut chapter for a year, then helped in revamping the New York chapter. My mother is one of my mentors. She granted me the gift of wanting to help the people in our communities. I remember her cooking at every Thanksgiving. She would then go out and feed the homeless. Another mentor of mine is David Rivera Sr. David is an OG young lord from Chicago, and one of the original members. Even at his current age, has that eternal fire to continue to fight for our people. He has shown me that no matter what, if even if your back is against the wall, we must continue to stand and fight for our people. My motivational heroes are Jose Cha-Cha Jimenez and David Rivera Sr., both who, as a young street gang bangers, turned a gang into an organization that uplifts the community, and that with, can you scroll again? Proper leadership, one can accomplish what others may say is impossible. I would love the opportunity to open food pantries at school that teaches true history without the whitewash. I'd also like to open a shelter that also assists with job training and provides trade certification. In my 2020, my wife and I spent $200 out of pocket in these trying times and helped feed the people of Bridgeport, Connecticut. My wife Dee and I cooked barbecue chicken, mashed potatoes, and vegetables to feed the community. I can honestly tell you that each person who received water and a plate loved the gesture. A few mentioned that they were grateful simply because they have no family. My wife and I still feel blessed to be able to give back to those in need. I came across Subi Turo when I started my journey and following my elders' footsteps with the Young Lords, and he was busy creating the New Era Young Lords. He asked me to help in starting the Connecticut chapter, which I mentioned doing earlier. We began establishing ourselves in the communities by sponsoring food drives, coat drives, and handing out hot meals. The word got out that there was this group out there wearing purple berets. At the time, we only had chapters in Connecticut, New York, and Florida. We all kept supporting our people. The elders of the original Young Lords Chicago chapter heard about and began looking into us. After 6 months, Cha-Cha gave us his blessings and allowed us use of the original logo and name. A year later, we, along with 4 others, were inducted into the Young Lords organization as full-fledged members. I believe that each organization will grow and accomplish their mission. Our leadership must continue with a vision and not allow greed or miscommunication to steer them onto the wrong path. Each organization must evolve to survive. Palante. This right here just it's kind of poignant. 'Cause I actually know this comrade, and I don't know how many of y'all know, like, they're no longer with the Young Lords movement. They split with them and they formed another chapter, which became Renegade later on. But just seeing like him talk about when the Young Lords came around and stuff, like I was very impressed with Subi. Like, I talked to Subi a lot. I know a whole lot of the New Era Young Lords in this movement and stuff. And I remember when we refounded the Second Rainbow Coalition out in Newark, New Jersey. This was May 14th, 2021. Subi and all the Young Lords came out there. It was them, the New African Black Panther Party, White Panther Party, and stuff. So, like, I being able to have this rich history of reading something like this and knowing how all this stuff has been coming together, and watching our generation find themselves, find their way. You know what I'm saying? I encourage everybody, just stick with this struggle. You know what I'm saying? Stick with this, keep it alive. We're there's and one quote from Huey P. Newton that I love so much. He said there ain't no celebrities in this stuff. There ain't no superheroes. You know what I'm saying? Like, we all collectively form the power of the people. You know what I'm saying? Everyone on this call right now today has different characteristics, traits, and strengths and weaknesses, but put together, that's where our power and strength comes from. You know what I'm saying? We should all look at each other as leaders in our own right. Being a dialectical materialist, we know we form identity and a unity of opposites, meaning that at times we're going to be students, at other times we're going to be teachers. This is the dialectical relationship as a revolutionary. So when we come across comrades that's more advanced than us. We should be a student, learn from them. When we come across comrades that might be less advanced or either intermediate than us, then we should be able to put ourselves in a position to help develop them. But this is an ongoing relationship. We switch these positions as we uh, uh, go along in this revolutionary struggle. But we have to see within ourselves that we are both at the same time. If we always look at ourselves as both at the same time, we'll stay humble because we know we got always grow. You know what I'm saying? It's always going to be somebody we're going to come across as more advanced that can actually teach us. And this is the thing that a lot of people don't understand. It's not always the people that's most advanced that can teach us. It's sometimes the less advanced that can actually help us. It was a person in prison that couldn't read or write that got me on the path to educate myself. Think about that. This brother couldn't read or write. I was very literate. You know what I'm saying? But this is what like Mao Zedong talk about: the illiterate can lead the literate. The uneducated can lead the educated. You know what I'm saying? And when you're humble, you can learn these lessons from people that can help us in our growth and our development and stuff. You know what I'm saying? So some of these stories right here is like really poignant to hear. You know, hear some of my comrades' names mentioned and stuff, but this is what we all should look at ourselves as being able to help each other grow. You know what I mean? Push us forward, push us forward, push us forward, because that's the power of the people. Again, like we're gonna have individuals that merge in our movement that might be some of the most charismatic people. You know what I'm saying? But that don't take away from yours if nobody even know your name, or if you're doing something in the background, feeding up, passing out food to the people. You know what I'm saying? All of these play a significant role. And we should look at ourselves as all being a part of this same body pushing this movement up forward. That's why I always emphasize ain't no heroes, ain't no celebrities. It takes us all to make this work. You know what I'm saying? No matter how visible or non-visible our work is, it's a very important work, period. You know what I'm saying? So our movement, we're trying to create leaders, develop leaders. So we're not just trying to keep people as followers in this movement. See yourself as the ancestors. You know what I mean? See them within you. The only difference between some of them is that they made a commitment and was willing to go all out. We just got to make that same commitment and put forth our best efforts in whatever we do. If it's passing out food, be the best person passing out food in the survival program. If it's a person, if it's posting an article or writing an article, make the best article you can to inspire other comrades. If it's giving a speech, be the most passionate in giving a speech that's gonna resonate with the people. You know what I'm saying? Whatever you do, just do the best at whatever you do within this struggle because it plays a part. You know what I'm saying? You never know who's gonna listen to you and be inspired by you and come into this movement of revolution. You know what I mean? So I always keep that in mind. Anyone else have anything they want to say?
Just pointing out that was a beautiful mic drop moment. Thank you, comrade. Well said.
Yeah, definitely.
No doubt. All power to the people. All right, I guess we'll move on to the next part. Okay, this is another original story. It's a bio original story, Saxon by Rejas. So I want to start by saying that I want that I share my story to highlight the struggle that we all must deal with. I don't seek fame or recognition for what I do. I am every brown beret, and every brown beret is me. Individualism and ego are a poison that needs to be sucked out of the movement. And I believe that Marxist-Leninism, Maoism is a basis for our theory on our continent, and revolutionary nationalism is the antidote. I was born September 5th, 1993, Saxon Weber in Yuba City, California, a descendant of German and Italian immigrants and migrant workers from Tejas and Mexico. I go by Barajas, the surname of my abuelo. My family were huge supporters of the UFW, and the Brown Berets, entwined with the histories of Tejas and Mexico. When I was 23, I remember all the stories I was told and sought out the Brown Berets in Tejas. I found the uh, Colonialismo National Brown Berets and joined their faction for a while. I learned a lot from Victor's son, Miguel, who was the national prime minister and prime minister of San Antonio, the original city where Colonialismo is formed. I was a little younger than I am now. Was very idealistic and easy to manipulate. It was through this manipulation and also due to political differences I had with Carnalismo that I split along with the prime minister of the Dallas chapter of Carnalismo at the time and helped found the Brown Berets Day. How you say that, Joe Gonzalez?
Semanwak.
Simon Walk. Okay, Simon Walk. Around this time, I met another vet, Ronald, the original prime minister of the Dallas Brown Berets, Juan Perez, and was told to question everything. Through certain events that I won't go into to protect the victim and through personal growth that I was painful and realized I was being used as bulldog, I left the BBOC. It was then that I took away my blessings for the patch and I designed with, say that one for me, comrade.
Chochimiki Quiltachi. Yeah,
Okay.
Cochimiqui Quiltlachli. I even have
Okay.
hard time pronouncing that. Okay.
Okay. Well, I feel a little better then. And formed the, can you scroll? Autonomous Brown Berets of Oklahoma, a Maoist-led formation of leftist Brown Berets that through self-criticism, praxis, struggle, and more has helped influence a lot of the politics and praxis of Brown Beret formations across the nation. If I had to pinpoint when other Brown Beret factions in this generation started to head further left, it'd be at the Chicano moratorium in 2019 in Houston, the Hayas, where at a meeting, the Autonomous Brown Berets of Oklahoma and the Autonomous Brown Berets of San Marcos, Texas, got together and started sharing our line with other factions and chapters. This, and through myself and others sharing Chicano power and the struggle for Aslan from the Brown Beret prison chapter, I believe helped set the stage for where many of us are at now politically. Of my experience with the Autonomous Brown Berets of Oklahoma, I will never forget our first Chicano moratorium at Willie Post Park, where the cops sent 2 helicopters, bicycle cops, and over 30 squad cars to watch and wall us and our coalition off to protect the Proud Boys. Wow. And highwaymen, there's spelling, as you can see, there's illiteracy issue with far right and other. While white nationalists who showed up with weapons and body armor. Later in Tulsa, Oklahoma, we stood against bikers for Trump, Proud Boys, and dealt with the infiltrating the coalition. Later at Fort Sill in Lawton, Oklahoma, we stood with our DACA community and got Oklahoma to stand down from putting children in camps in our state. There I put myself between an armed Trumper supporter named Tim Harper, who was brandishing his open carried sidearm around women and children. That wasn't the first time and won't be the last time that I do that. May 30th of 2020, I put myself in harm's way again, but in what I believe was a far more dangerous capacity. The people of Oklahoma City watched as George Floyd died begging for his life. And May 30th was the day they decided to march out peacefully against police brutality. I, along with other Brown Berets that were available, were asked to work security as there had been actual threats of violence, and we are trusted in the community. Needless to say, we answered the call. We kept the crowd separate from any counter protesters, and once the crowd started to move into the street, we attempted to keep them safe. Almost immediately, we were nearly hit by 8 police SUVs, and the officers left their vehicles and began ripping away the banner with the names of all those murdered by the pigs. One of the Brown Berets at Carnala went to pick up the banner that was now on the ground, and the officer that threw it on the ground immediately grabbed her, bruising her arm, and was about to throw her on the ground. I immediately stepped forward to stop it, making him let go of her, and I moved him from my presence alone back many feet. Suddenly, I was sucker punched and set upon by 4 or 6 more officers. They tried to throw me on the ground, but they couldn't do it. And I didn't let them until I knew that my Carnala was safe. They then found my gun, which I was carrying legally with my concealed handgun license, and I was thrown into the paddy wagon. They also stole my beret and Black Panther Party pin, which I wore as a gift and honor from a comrade who was a Black Panther Cub. I never got either of those back, and I had to forfeit my firearm and bulletproof vest as well. Funnily enough, at first, I was charged for animal cruelty due to a clerical error. After they fixed everything, I was charged with felony assault and battery on an officer, committing a felony while wearing a body armor, and committing a felony while in possession of a firearm. I was also I was almost charged with terrorism, but that wouldn't stick as I had committed no damage, property damage, or personal injury in the riot that followed as a result of my arrest and others. After I got out of the jail, the state came back a month later and called the U.S. Marshals to my apartment, which thankfully, due to being tipped off, I was able to avoid them. And through the help of supporters across the nation, I was able to raise the $300,000 bail, wow, in full, which then angered them. So they raised it another 100,000, wow. And yet again, the people came through, and I was able to pay the $400,000 bond in full, and not spend more than an afternoon in jail after surrendering myself. Then I was lucky in that I got the best civil rights lawyer in the state, Douglas Parr, who volunteered to represent me. If it wasn't for cruelty, animal cruelty on the fastest pig, straight up, Joe. That's why I was thinking when they charged him with that clerical error for assault on the animal. Yeah, it was assault on a pig.
Thinking the
If it
same thing
wasn't,
too. Like
that's
that's
funny.
okay. Of course, it's animal cruelty.
Right. If it wasn't for Doug, I wouldn't be able to be there for my Carnala or her 2 kids, and I would probably be in prison system in the #1 state for police violence and incarceration. Through almost a year of fighting, Doug was able to get a deferred sentence with supervised probation and a Alford plea. For those who don't know, an Alford plea means I maintain my innocence, but I'm taking the state deal because I do not have the means to fight back. And I didn't believe that I would get a fair trial. Many others arrested that night would get similar deals due to the amazing legal work of pro bono lawyers that stepped up to defend us all. Nowadays, I work as a long haul truck driver, and when I can during my home time, I continue to help in mutual aid events and more. Some of my long-term goals are to change these from mutual aid to survival programs, building community defense programs, building community restorative justice programs, and strengthen the unions in Oklahoma, as well as continue more mass line work, building mass organizations to help form a united front in Oklahoma. The last thing I like to leave you with is a piece of advice to other Brown Berets. 1, do not be dogmatic. I work with democratic socialists and anarchists all the time. Remember the primary contradiction. You can struggle and debate, with them in your free time, especially among other brown berets. I learned that the hard way, but it is very important lesson. 2, don't talk shit about others in the movement. Don't spread chisme. However, do bring up criticism, even if their friends or comrades do struggle. 3, find out what works and what doesn't. Use what does and throw away the rest. Remember the primary contradiction, which is U.S. imperialism and the white supremacist state. 5, learn the difference between an antagonistic and non-antagonistic contradiction. And remember that these can change as time moves on. And that's important right there. One thing Mao Zedong always talked about, he said that the contradiction between the people is reconcilable. The contradiction between the people and the state is irreconcilable. You know what I'm saying? That is a fundamental contradiction that we have to understand the difference between the two, meaning that a lot of contradictions we can resolve amongst the people on many different levels. You dig what I'm saying? But with the state, it don't matter if we talking about the police, the state, the CIA, the FBI. That's always an irreconcilable contradiction. Unless they flip the script and start working for us undercover, that can never be a resolvable contradiction. But they have to commit class suicide and state suicide against state system. You know what I'm saying? For them to ever be under our influence and us to accept them working for us against the state they work for. You know what I'm saying? But number 6, learn about historical materialism and dialectical materialism. The ones that's on here today, I think we're gonna be having a meeting on this pretty soon. But that's something that I was thinking about bringing up. Like I think Mao Zedong, when he wrote "Where Does Correct Ideals Come From," on practice, on contradiction, those are 3 great pieces that explains dialectical materialism, historical materialism. Also talks a little bit of like the what the theory of knowledge from a dialectical materialist standpoint. You know what I'm saying? I think those are the things that we're going to get into next year, taking what are the ideals that like the Black Panther Party and the Young Lords, where did they get their ideals from? We're going to be picking apart going into next year. But those are 2, those are several essays I think going to be good essays that we can start off with to help people understand the difference between idealism and historical materialism. How does people make a leap from perceptual knowledge to rational knowledge, and how does that qualitatively keeps on spiraling higher and higher the more we accumulate scientific analysis and understanding of stuff. You know what I'm saying? That's the scientific method of approach. That's all that is. That's all dialectical materialism is. It's a scientific method of approach of understanding social and material matter and motion. You know what I mean? And get into the underlying contradictions and things. You know what I'm saying? So we're gonna get into a lot of that later on. But I'm glad he's bringing this up in this piece we reading. Number 7, put your trust in the masses and work to educate them and yourself. And remember to do it on their level. That's key right there. And remember to do it on their level. Don't talk over people's heads. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people, once they become conscious, start to forget where they came from. And sometimes it's just, and this one thing I want to say, when you start to understand these complex concepts, you don't even have to use these words all the time. You can use examples, and that shows that you even understand what the hell you talking about. You know what I'm saying? Being able to, and this one thing I love about Mal, because he used a lot of like down to earth language and examples and to explain some of these concepts to people. That's when you really digesting it and able to be creative and give your own examples, is when you can talk to everyday people with everyday language and explain it to them, and also do the same thing with a PhD professor. You know what I'm saying? Having that range gives you the ability to really be flexible in your delivery style, and that's what I hope to see grow within the comrades, that we have that range where it don't matter what demographic we're talking to, we can explain it to whatever demographic on whatever level we need to. You know what I'm saying? And be diverse. Go from dialectical materialism to a sociological analysis, or to a biological analysis, or dealing with the state. You know what I'm saying? All of these different levels, being able to go from one subject to the other and be consistent in your dialectical materialist analysis. So some of those are the things that we're gonna try to like get into next year real soon. And I know we're gonna have a meeting this week about some of the material we're gonna start reading. But anyway, to pick back up, 7, put your trust in the masses and work to educate them and yourself. And remember to do it on their level. Don't be an academic elitist. Don't use words like communism, socialism, primary, secondary contradictions, dialectical materialism, Marxism, anarchism, etc., until you get them working with you and trusting in you. I think that's good advice. You don't have to beat a person across the head to teach them some of these complex things. And then once they do understand it, then you can use that terminology, because they now you have a common point of unity, you know what I'm saying, an understanding to go from. So anyway, C/S, Saxon Valrejas, Prime Minister, the Communist Brown Berets of Oklahoma. What page is that now? 77. So we got like 5 more pages. Anyone want to comment on that? You know who this Brown Beret comrade is, Joe?
No, I haven't met him yet, but I wanted to give the definition. Oh, now that I see his picture, I do recognize him. I went on one event with him, but I wanted to give the definition of CS. It's something widely used in the Chicanos, and it's consafos. It's something that connects you to the generations that came before you. And it's your way of participating in any kind of everyday way in that history.
Can you put that in? Remember that one?
Yeah, I'll write that down.
And you saying that's basically connecting with our ancestors to the present generation and generations forward?
Yes, correct.
Okay.
And it's a term that's been used since like the late 60s. I mean, I mean, it's more of a from the vaudeville kind of perception.
Okay. Pleasure. I appreciate you sharing that, because I didn't know what that meant. You know, I ain't gonna never be too shameful to say I don't know something if I don't know something. What you think about this, Che? This chapter?
I mean, reference to everything that he was saying, he was on point, man. You know, but one thing that really strikes me is that a lot of people talk about, you know, like dialectics and historical materialism, and actually they have no real deep concept of what that means.
Right.
You know, and we need to know that, and definitely need to know that, because that's part of our life. You know, we depend on it. You know, dialectics, we depend on it. You know, it's not something that we just saying it. It's something. It's a science that we need to practice on a daily basis. You know, so you know, it strikes me real. He touched me. He impacted me.
I know how much you about that in these conversations. That's why I was like, I want to hear what Che. I know he loving this.
He impacts me, man, because you know, it takes me back to, you know, like when he talks about those lessons 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It was like talking about like lessons that we were practicing, man, back in prison. You know, we, you know, say lesson number 1. lesson number 2, lesson number 3, and that's how we used to go, man. We used to deal with. So he took me back. He took me back. You know,
No doubt.
I like that.
No doubt. No doubt. You have anything that add, Elder Cleo? You muted.
Thank you, Comrade.
Mute one more time.
Still muted.
Okay, you good now.
Okay. Yeah, I thought this was a very interesting look into a sector of the movement that's I have actually not been in contact with on that kind of level, on a deeper level.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to say, along with Che, that yes, this is the way that we studied, the same way the brother put forward what the lessons were and what they should be for us. And that's the way that we studied a great deal of the time, especially since everybody couldn't read.
Right.
So we had to, in order to bring people up to a level of being able to read dialectical and historical materialism on practice and the things that from the collected works of Mao Zedong, we had to start them off reading simple stuff.
Right.
And bring them up to the level of understanding. And actually, it is not difficult. And I agree with Che that it is not difficult to learn. It just takes working together to really study together,
right,
to understand, and sometimes people can put forward what their ideas are about a certain thing, and then some other people can add to it.
Right.
And then you start to get a better understanding, a deeper understanding. And that's what we need, because I agree with Trey also that it becomes practical and it becomes a part of your day-to-day practice.
Yeah.
And you start to use it,
Absolutely.
Use it at work.
Mm-hmm.
And recognize the extraction of labor from you, and all those important things that you're doing, that you're engaging in on a day-to-day basis, and it's all based on dialectical historical materials viewpoint. So, and I mean, I hardly ever use those terms myself unless I'm talking to some other intellectuals.
Right.
But just in general, talking to the people, I don't use that kind of terminology.
Yeah. And
the value, that's what I wanted to say. The extraction of surplus value. And that's a Marxist concept, and we should read Karl Marx.
Right.
Because Communist Manifesto is the beginning of understanding Karl Marx, and we should try reading that too.
Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah. We definitely gonna when we I hope I'm pretty sure we're gonna get around to Capital, but we definitely all gotta be on here for that. I remember the first time I read that, I felt like my brain cells was busting.
Yeah.
What the heck? And then we finally started catching on. I was like, this dude was like the smartest person in the world. But all he was doing was just like breaking down the science of economics. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Starting with the commodities and stuff like that, and working in to where, like Cleo was talking about, the surplus labor of value. Why how they exploit us with unpaid labor and stuff. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, I feel like once we
and profits, how they dig profits out of us.
That's where it comes from, the unpaid labor that he was talking about, the surplus labor of value and stuff. You know what I mean? But I think all these different things, when we start to get into it, and we have all the different comrades on here helping us with the analysis of this, we all gonna grow a lot quicker. You know what I'm saying? It's easier doing this as a collective than doing it by yourself. Let's just say that. You know what I'm saying? Jorge, Che?
Yeah, I just wanted to briefly say I'm reading this book on the meaning of Marxism, And in that book, it talks about the surplus value. And it talks about where the surplus value was the cause for the division of society, where society came, the class society came about as a result of that, of surplus value. It was very good, but I never read the Communist Manifesto. In all these years, I should have, but I never read it.
Hey, I tell y'all another one we definitely gotta read, and I'm gonna get to you, Shanti. But The Origins of Family, Private Property, and the State by Ingalls.
Oh, yeah, list too.
Man, that right there, to me, when y'all hear me talk about the nature of the state, that's what I'm talking about. You know what I'm saying? It ain't always been a state. A lot of people get a lot of the things in relation to the state confused. Like I remember I used to hear people talk about in prison, being a correctional officer or a police officer is just another job. No.
Oh, no. That's the state.
All with the state. You know what I'm saying? That's a repressive arm of the state. That's how they maintain power. You know what I'm saying? The more we understand some of this, like patriarchy, like a lot of people don't understand, like human beings we all started off in matriarchal society. Patriarchy, the evolution within society where private property came about. You know what I'm saying? That's and we're going to talk about some of these things, but I feel like the more we understand the origin, we understand where these things, how they came about, and we understand why we're struggling against some of these contradictions that emerge due to private property emerging, creating classes in human civilization, and how we can get beyond those. The more we understand those, like what Mao Zedong, when we get back to Mao Zedong, how he talks about the division between mental labor and manual labor. These are contradictions that came about due to private property evolving within human civilization. Some people that work just with their mind, that's making all the money, but the one that the shop floor doing all the work, you know what I'm saying? We getting paid the less, but we can bridge the gap between that, because in socialist society, we gonna be mental and manual labor. You know what I'm saying? That's how we bridge the contradictions between the people and stuff. Certain ones that got skills versus ones that don't have skills. All we have to do is develop that mental understanding, that intellectual scientific understanding of what you do, to bridge that gap where now this person no longer has a position of knowledge, of power over you. You know what I'm saying? That's concentrated within the class struggle. This is also a part of that class struggle, waging it to reclaim where the producer, you know what I'm saying, is also expropriating for his own interests along with everybody else. You know what I'm saying? The people benefit from this now collectively. You know, that's how we struggle against some of these contradictions. But some of this stuff we're going to talk about when we get into some of these readings, to have a deeper understanding on this. Like I could talk about stuff like this forever. I love this because it really helps me understand why we struggling against the system like we are. Shanti, you got your hand up?
Yeah, I would like to, especially add on to what Cleo was saying. These are things that a lot of so-called revolutionaries today don't even, practice. Either they know and they use it wrong, or they don't know how to do it, and it's just a whole bunch of mess that falls apart after about a month. And everything is interconnected, everything is always changing in some way. And these are the things that we have to understand at the level that most of us can understand it, especially reading foundational texts like the Red Book, and like Women's Liberation and the African freedom struggle by Thomas and Carl. Foundational texts that are not so strenuous on most people, especially people that don't know how to read or write, or critically be able to critically think. And meeting them at where they are at in terms of that is very, very crucial. And even if you're like starting off, starting to liberate yourself, you need that, it's a this is a collective effort. So, you have to have, a group of people to be able to, guide you, not only guide you, but each other. Because, it cannot be one person leading the show. This is not some, messiah type shit. This is a collective. And I think it's very, very important that, we up, we, you know, talk, just talk with them and be able to build that trust with them and be able to get them on to where they will have that revolutionary breakthrough so that you can be able to use, the bigger terms, using stuff like, the Red Book or, the House on Mango Street, the, people's literature, all that stuff, things that they can be able to actually understand and apply to, their conditions at the time. So, it's very, very crucial that, we don't be elitist, especially do not be elitist, because that's going to kill it. It's going to kill that potential trust that you can build with other parts of the masses. So, definitely building that trust, using foundational texts and, even poetry and other literature to, get them to your side, to get, each other on the same ideological political line, and, taking it to the next stage, because, once again, all of this is a process. So it's very important that we really like act accordingly when we go and do mass line and get the masses on to their revolutionary lines.
No doubt. And I say this, we hold each other accountable. You know what I mean?
Accountability.
I have one more suggestion about what we should read, and we definitely should read What Is to Be Done by V.I. Lenin.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. That is on the list, too.
Yes, that's very important.
Yeah. I thought that was probably that's one of my favorite books by Lenin, too. I think it helped me understand the importance of the Vanguard Party. Like, you know what I mean? That right there. And what is the purpose of the Vanguard Party? You know what I mean? Also, I think some of the concept when he talks about in there, like the difference between the Bolsheviks, what became the Bolsheviks, and social democracy and stuff. That our movement broke away from social democrats. You know what I'm saying? Where they felt like you could change the system within. No, those are all questions I feel like had to be answered historically for our generation that we still be wrestling with today. You know what I'm saying? Like, we need to go back to this stuff to figure out, like, why are we asking ourselves questions that some of our comrades in the past said this is the scientific analysis of this, and this is why we cannot turn a system into socialism peacefully. Like, it's not going to just transition peacefully. Like, you have to destroy the state. You know what I'm saying? So,
right.
Absolutely. I feel like a lot of this stuff we got to go back to, and but we got each other. So some of this stuff next year is going to be a little bit more intellectual, more scientific in our digging deep into stuff. You dig what I'm saying? But we have each other for support to really take away the lessons that we're going to be getting out of every chapter that we read when we get to some of these works. So stay tuned for that. I'm looking forward to that. You know what I mean? Does anybody have anything else to add, or we'll go in the last 5 pages of this book reading session?
I just want to say that last night I got into reading Pan-Africanism.
Okay.
And one thing led me to another. Before you know it, I was reading about George Padmore, and I was reading about what's his name? I even wrote his name here, Henry Sylvester Williams. I don't know if y'all know about him,
I ain't
but
never heard it.
these are people that really had an impact on Pan-Africanism.
Okay.
Especially George Padmore, because George Padmore was a Marxist Leninist.
What?
And so I got into reading last night. got so wrapped up in it that it was crazy. One thing led to another. I was names I ain't never heard of, man. It was all popping up. It was good. I did some good analysis of
That's
No,
right. That's right.
man, because I wanted to understand Pan Africanism from a broad perspective, not just from a limited, for what people say. I
yeah,
wanted to see it from a broader perspective, and I did. I was able to get a better understanding of it.
no doubt, no doubt.
Unite the diaspora and fight for each other's issues, around each other's issues, because everybody's at a different level throughout the diaspora. So that's pretty much of African people of African descent and African people.
Right, right.
Africa is in us.
Yeah, I would say like Kwame Nkrumah would probably be my one of my recommendations too. Like neo-colonialism, the last stage of imperialism. I think Kwame Nkrumah, because he actually got in to position of power and didn't destroy the state. You know what I mean? Some of that colonial state was still there. That might have been a lesson from Lenin he could have learned. But I think they gave us a window into how neo-colonialism worked and how the system actually around the world of imperialism affects a lot of these countries over in Africa, Caribbean, South America, Asia and stuff, and why it could have a person with our ethnicity and power, but it still be the same financial oppression going on from the people that formerly colonized these countries and stuff. That's why Kwame Nkrumah was always pushing for like Africa. You're going to say to unite their economies and break off from Western imperialism totally and all the way. Go ahead, Elder.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that understanding Pan-Africanism is also understanding how much the bourgeoisie, the international bourgeoisie, will fight to keep us all over the world from rising out of the place where they have placed us with their foot off on our necks.
Right.
And for us to get those feet off of our necks with whatever level we are in, because the people here of African descent here in the United States are in a different position than, say, the people in the Congo,
right,
or in Tanzania, or in Uganda. All different. All those are all different, and all the contradictions internally are all different. Or in Jamaica, or in Haiti, those are all parts of the diaspora. That's all what Pan-Africanism speaks to. And the bourgeoisie is killer. They really are do anything they can to stop us from moving forward economically, politically, and socially.
Yeah.
So,
very true. It's very true.
Joe.
Yeah, on this next reading, if I can read just this one, because I'm going to start traveling home from work. But Sergio Lujan is one of our leaders in Los Brown Berets, and it would be a pleasure to read his book.
Yeah. Go ahead, comrade.
Oh, not to cut anybody off though. Keep on talking. I
only got 15 minutes anyway. I promised my family I'd be like doing stuff for
keep it short and sweet. They say, yeah, right.
Hey, I showed up at the doorstep, gave everybody a few hugs, and went upstairs and already.
All right. It says the bio by Sergio Lujan. At a young age, I started experiencing racism and discrimination. I remember when I was in elementary school, it was the ESL classes, English as a second language. My first language was Spanish. I remember the kids who were raza that I used to hang with. We would play soccer. In that time, we would have to click up together because the white kids, the coconuts, or any kid that had military parents had it against us, raza. And of course, he's from El Paso, Texas, and they have the big army base there, Fort Bliss. In the neighborhood I lived in back in the 90s, I lived in the northeast part of El Chuco. in a neighborhood named the Devil's Triangle. I remember the young güeros, white peoples, would call us wetbacks, beaners, and ask us was our green card. We knew that we had to stick together as raza and throw some putazos, which are blows. Era de regla, that was a regulation. Show no weakness. By time I grew up being a gangster, growing up with the raza from Glenwood and the east side of town. I didn't experience racism. Out on the east side, it was a very different environment because of so many raza. The neighborhood I lived in was called the Oasis Ranch. People would call it Little Juarez because it had a lot of raza from Juaritos, and the neighborhood houses looked like the ones from Juarez. By the time I was 12, I've experienced my first police brutality. I remember a friend, and I was stopped by the cops. My friend was 14. We were walking to 7-Eleven, and they stopped us because we looked suspicious. I remember they had us on the ground with their guns pointing at us. I remember my friend stood up and ran. Then I stood up and ran as well. I saw him running even though we did nothing wrong. Police ended up finding us. They called in a helicopter, K9s, and about 10, 15 police units. I remember when we were in the police station in a small 3x3 holding cell. My friend was making a commotion. He didn't want to say his name, so they asked me, and I said that didn't know anything. I ain't giving no info to them. Chale, es la regla del barrio. They took off our shirts, shoes, and socks. I remember they took my friend outside and started beating him up. They kept me inside, but like three came to my cell, blocked the camera's view, and started to beat me up as well. I was sitting on the small bench inside, handcuffed. Back then, I had slick back hair. They would also grab my hair, slam the back of my head into the wall. They would step on my toes because they wanted me to talk. Pero chale. When they brought my friend back in, he saw what they were doing to me, so he just gave his name so they can't stop beating me up. We were charged with evading arrest. They knew us from our neighborhood. They were just fucking with us. I remember a time I was like 18 years old. I was with an OG, and we would talk about La Raza and unity and always sticking together and not fight amongst each other. Became a good camarada friend with him. When I got out, I was like 21 years old. I would kick it with all Raza. I came out calmado, means chill, and want to follow a different path. I then met my wife, who was dreaming. I got involved in the movement because she would participate at events and actions. Me gustó la onda de que toda la raza lucha por la causa. I enjoyed uh, the movement because it was all the race working together for the cause. I remember coming across an image of a brown beret during one of the actions. I wanted to learn more about it. So I came across the Carnal Oso Negro, who was a brown beret from El Chuco. He told me everything. I had to learn about the brown berets, and I knew that this is what I have always wanted to be a part of. He guided me, and I became a member in 2013. During my time as a brown beret, I remember attending the funeral of Reyes Lopez Tijerina. I was still getting my Chicano knowledge, but I learned much more when I heard of to continue to learn and build my knowledge. I have met many veteranos from the movement that have guided me and taught me everything. Oso Negro was then in charge of Los Brown Berets. When he stepped down, the torch was passed down to me. Ooh, there we go. For the hard work I had done for La Causa, I became Tlatuani, Prime Minister of Los Brown Berets. One night I had a dream about a feathered scorpion, so I decided to adopt that as my brown beret name, Quetzal Cotla. Today I am the Prime Minister of Los Brown Berets. And since then, he's passed the torch to Yola Mix Cold Weather because he is going to college or furthering his education. So it's Yola that's Tatuani now. And I guide our information with a calm and gentle approach, and to avoid unnecessary drama and chisme, which is like dry talk, but focus on action for La Raza. Viva la causa. Quetzalcoatl, Sergio Lujan, Tatlani of Los Brown Berets. And I can speak on his behalf, man. He is one of the most chill comrades, I mean, humble comrades that I have ever met. I was glad to come under the Los Brown Berets under his direction. And I'm going to mute myself because we're traveling. But thank you for letting me read this one. All power to the people.
All power to the people. Thanks, comrade, for sharing that. Is that that's the last one, ain't it? Is that page 82? Zen?
Yeah, that's the last one for today.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I appreciate that, comrade. I didn't know the history of all that stuff. I know Yola was the leader of the Los Brown Berets now. What's that called again? How pronounce that for us again? Her title?
Flatlani?
Yeah.
Which
Okay.
I mean, I don't prefer to use the word prime minister because it sounds like something from Europe.
Right. Yeah.
but I guess as the leader of those Brown Berets, because of course we are a national organization and we are all over the place, but we do have a structure and we do have a formation.
Yeah, and if people don't know, Yola, that's a sister too. You know what I'm saying? That's a woman. Chicana sister up in Chicago. Real good friend of mine. Been boots on the ground with her plenty of times and stuff. Probably be seeing her back in February. We got an event up in Indianapolis I'm gonna go back to and stuff. But yeah, much respect to that comrade. I think
And I'm really grateful to have a matriarchal leadership in Los Brown Berets. Just shows what our focus is and where we're going.
Yeah. I got much respect for Yola. So yeah, it's good to know that history, how she who she ended up taking a position from. But I say this too, and comrade Cleo can talk about it as well. The Black Panther Party did have a prime minister at one point. That was Stokely Carmichael for a small period of time. You know what I mean? So that's not a title that's not unfamiliar with the Black Panther Party too. You know what I'm saying?
I think it's important to talk about the merger of the civil rights movement comrades into the Black Panther Party along the period of Malcolm X
Okay.
and the death of first of Dr. King and then of Malcolm X, because that's how Stokely and Rap Brown, is now Jamil, got to that's really how they got into the Black Panther Party, and James Foreman. So
Yeah.
and those three coming out of SNCC, Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, into the Black Panther Party. So as everybody's clear how Stokely and Rap and James Foreman got into. They just had a meeting, and at that meeting, I believe Huey Newton or Bobby Seale One just gave them their positions.
Right.
And they stayed for a little while, you know.
Yeah.
But it was a good thing. It's really good to see the way that these movements merge together, and this has been happening from the time of the Amistad.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so if people know about Amistad, the boat is actually a slave ship where the brothers took over and navigated to the United States and then went to court and demanded their freedom and received their freedom.
Mm-hmm.
And that's after 1619 was when the first Africans were brought to this country on this land right here. And the struggle goes all the way back to 1619. And then the period where people of African descent were free. So there's a whole struggle there, and we should know about that. But I think that one of the most important things is to see that we are an extension of what began a very long time ago. So that we understand that who we are and what our struggle is. And so the Brown Berets are an extension of the struggle of the Mexican community that was where their land was stolen. And that whole area, I think it's 5 states, was just taken from, including Texas, Nevada,
California,
Arizona, New Mexico.
Yes, thank you.
California.
Texas, yes. And so, that struggle, and so the struggle of the United Farm Workers was an extension of that struggle as well. And it continues now up through the Brown Berets. And the same with Puerto Ricans, the relationship of Puerto Rico and the struggle for its independence away from being a colonial asset of the United States. This has been going on. And the fact that the slaves in Puerto Rico were freed before the slaves were freed. Hayuya, I think they were freed during Hayuya. Am I right? Okay.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. Let me just say something on that. In 1898, the Spain gave us our sovereignty. And as we started building, what happened was the United States stepped in and invaded us. I mean, bombed us because San Juan was bombed, and then they just took it over. So that's why we always say, man, that we always claim our independence because we had independence. See, we was a free country after Spain gave us our freedom. We was a free country. And all of a sudden, these assholes come out of nowhere and just invade us. Just like they did in Mexico. Same way.
Right. Cuba, Guam.
Ain't it believed that the U.S. Maine that was bombed and stuff, they say that the United States possibly sunk their own boat as a provocation to go to war against Spain and start taking over all their former colonies and stuff.
Yes, and the same in Hawaii. In 1942, they bombed the Pearl Harbor themselves, and the same with in the Vietnam War. They bombed much of their own selves and use that as a provocation to go in and take over South Vietnam. Like they were not allowed to get to North Vietnam. North Vietnam wasn't having it. They had been through so many struggles.
Yeah,
But
and
we are an extension. Yeah,
comrades,
we are.
like Joe said right there about 9/11. Like, I think a lot of us feel some type of way about, like, everybody remember that building 7 fell and no airplane hit that building. Like, everybody remember that?
Yep.
Like, they got people that say that these buildings could not fall without explosives being there to professionally bring it straight down, because that's the construction demolition. You know what I'm saying? How these buildings fell down. So this we dealing with an enemy that don't care about sacrificing their own people. We just see right now what's going on over in Israel. You know what I'm saying? Where they bombed this hospital and then blame it on the other side, on the Palestinians. Think about that. Like, they blaming this when they just did this.
Bombed. They're liars and distorters. They do anything. I'm talking about how hard they will struggle to keep people who are exploited and in a terrible position to keep us in a terrible position. And we must identify as African Americans in the poverty that we're faced with, of people of color in the United States. We must identify with people like the Palestinian people.
Absolutely.
You know?
Absolutely. Yeah. And like Malcolm said, we got to always keep in mind, the media is designed to make us to think that the oppressor is the victim and the victim is the oppressor. You know what I'm saying? Like we have to be able to educate each other, inform each other what's really going on, so we never bamboozled by all this foolery and trickery that they put out there. This U.S. Look, Biden just went over there and lied right there in front of the whole world. You know what I'm saying? This is Joe Biden. He's no different from, and guess whose media broadcast this? They was talking about Fox News when Trump was in there, fake news, and they're both fake news. You know what I'm saying? This is propaganda. This is a class struggle, and in class struggle, they don't care. They're Machiavellians. If you read The Prince, you know that Machiavelli said, "Hey, sometimes the prince got to be evil and lie and tell falsehoods and stuff like this." This is the type of thinking that these imperialists have. You know what I'm saying? Just like we was just talking about the Mexican American War. You know, for 1846, 48, 1848, like they provoked that situation, claiming that they were attacked and stuff. You know what I'm saying? like this of the United States. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they play mind games with these people. And, you know, it's so funny that Biden just, you know, came up there and, you know, tweeted and how he's so shocked and so terrified that Wadia was killed. But he made that happen. See, this is the mind games that they play. Once again, these people are sweet talkers. Talk the masses sweet enough, you'll buy into the madness. And, you know, like them pushing all that BS about, you know, lying on Hamas and the Palestinian children, lying on children, okay? That is what led to Wadia being killed. So the fact of the matter is we need to be very, 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 very careful, because it doesn't matter if it's MSNBC, Fox News, they're all fake. They're all fake. Even the independent, quote unquote, platforms are not even safe either. That is why we need to really have our bond, our revolutionary bond, strong and listen to each other, because the mass media won't do that, obviously. And also, Africa and Palestine are right next to each other. So it's that bond that we have geopolitically and in a revolutionary way. We always have that bond. Africans and Palestinians have always bonded together. If you look at Ferguson with Michael Brown, you know, the Palestinians were helping with New Africans with protest safety and guerrilla safety and all that stuff. It's that bond that we have that can never be broken. And we need to really, really pay attention, because these people have nothing to lose. These people have nothing to lose. They'll make up whatever lies in order to win us over to them. And clearly that's not happening no more, because look at what happened 22 years ago. It's the same thing.
Yeah. And I think we should all be inspired by these colonized people. Like, think about this. We are colonized, and some of us, we think we free. Like the Palestinians ain't never gave up on the fact that they are colonized and they want to decolonize their land. If you know anything about Nakba, when they took over and did the ethnic cleansing, took out all these Palestinians and put people in their houses, the settlers in their houses. This is what all this stuff is about, y'all. Like, we need to educate ourselves. So when we talk about what some of this, why we stand with the Palestinians, we can win people over to us right now. You know what I'm saying? This is a contradiction within the system that we can win. They cannot win this part of the class struggle at all with the narrative of what they're pushing out here. You know what I'm saying?
They're too deep in decay.
Huh?
They're too deep in decay.
Yeah, yeah, and nobody like one thing we know for sure is one reason why Africans and Palestinians always supported each other, because let's keep it 100. The same thing that happened to Palestinians happened to South Africa. The same thing that's happened to Palestinians happened to the Mexicans right now with this wall and stuff. You know what I'm saying? It's a apartheid type of system that they pushing over there. It's a direct, aggressive form of colonialism and stuff. But again, I feel like all colonized people over here, we should be inspired by this people that's been oppressed for a long time, and they have never relinquished their right to exist. You know what I'm saying? And they struggling by any means necessary. That like listen, think about this. Gaza is a small territory that they pushed them all in as sardines. 2.3 million of them, where people call an open air prison. You know what I mean? And these people still won't concede their right to exist. Like for all of us, we need to really look at that as a example of inspiration. Like, man, think of us over here. We need to have that same type of commitment and desire for freedom and self-liberation like them. You know what I'm saying? Elder Cleo?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that one of the things that we haven't taken up is that, people of African descent should be down on the border fighting in support
Right.
of the people coming across that border.
Absolutely.
And that is a vanguard move right there.
Yeah, yeah.
Taking leadership and showing the direction of where
Yeah.
the struggle should go. We should be down there. I wish I could be down there.
Yeah, yeah.
Give me my backpack, my ability to walk, and I'll be there.
No doubt.
It's so important.
Right about like the Brown Berets when they stand in solidarity and against the wall and stuff. Like we in the Second Rainbow Coalition, that's got to be something that we collectively do. So the Brown Berets ain't out there struggling against this by themselves. I say one thing that we have done in the Second Rainbow Coalition is up in Chicago. I know y'all saw that the last couple years when we've been doing them protests against Heartland Alliance that cages all them kids in these concentration camps. Like we gonna call their concentration camps. You know what I'm saying? Just like how Nazi Germany was doing to people over in Nazi Germany. You know what I mean? But that wall, especially with Biden pressing for this wall to go forward, like this is another contradiction in the system we have to expose. One of our historical missions for our generation, our class, is to pull people away from the Democratic Party. That is our base that we must take from them. They constantly taking this base away from us. That's why they co-opt all of our movements. Occupy Wall Street, Black Lives Matter, all these different things. They infiltrate, co-opt, and try to pull people back into their party. You know what I'm saying? We need to do the opposite. Attack their policies they're pushing and strip people away from them, where they permanently start to look at them as being no different than these fascist, overt neo-Nazi Christo-fascist ones with the Republican Party today. You know what I'm saying? Think about this. They're united on this Israel stuff, this Zionist stuff. This is a contradiction where a lot of the people around the world right now, even Jews right now inside the United States, just did a protest in the U.S. Capitol. Like this is a contradiction, a class struggle. We need a ways to them to win people over to us, the people. You know what I'm saying? So,
right.
Yeah, right.
But anyway, I enjoyed this conversation. Yeah, Jewish, not Zionist, no doubt.
Yes, indeed.
That's a very big difference. Not all Jews is Zionists. You know what I mean? I think we're trying to learn with this new situation over there that's emerged over there. But it's a pleasure this discussion as always with y'all comrades. This will be uploaded to our YouTube channel as always. I think this has been a good discussion, and I always look forward to having these discussions and book readings with y'all. But the next one is going to be this Sunday, 2 p.m. with the comrade Gabby. And then Zen, her day is Monday at 8 p.m. Eastern time, which is 5 p.m. Pacific time. So stay tuned. But everybody have a good night, and love y'all, comrades. All power to the people.
All power to the
All
people.
All
power to the
power
people.
to the people.